seems like Microsoft is basically just stuffing the channels right now. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it may well swing around the other way if this news story is correct, and if the market's saturated with Xbox Ones that aren't being sold. Maybe it'll well, hopefully encourage a price drop, which may be the thing that would cause people to buy them up.
I
And
don't
well,
I don't really see why people buy those things, to be honest. I mean, Steam box is no, sorry, they call them Steam machines now. The Steam machines are based on Debian, Linux, and these are there are a bunch of them. Different brands make them. Different companies integrate different components, and it's approved by Steam to run Steam OS or whatever, which is based on Debian. And these things, if you wish, could probably function as a computer, very much
but,
in the same way PS3 could have
but
been
with your
if
Steam boxes, the problem you're looking at there is it all comes down to titles. For example, when the PS3 was released, I believe the launch title there was God of War, which was an amazing tech demo. I didn't see much of a game in that at all personally, and it was more of a tech demo, but it managed to hook in a massive crowd of customers. And it's all about the games now, and it's exactly the same way as why Windows Phone hasn't appealed to the mainstream consumer, whereas Android did, is because all the developers are on Android, and the marketplace is larger, the software is more diverse, they've got so much more choice. It's the same in the console world. If people are going to plug something into their television in the front room, they want it having Grand Theft Auto or whatever it is they happen to, or God of War 3, I think.
I should mention it's not only Steam that's completely transforming the. I should mention this. Last time when we were very consistent with doing the show, the state of games on especially Linux wasn't that exciting. I mean, it was starting to pick up with Steam. Now, there's several headlines about new game engines being ported to Linux, and also the drivers are improving a great deal. So if you go to like Google News and put something like Linux, you'll see like more than half the headlines will be about some games, and that tells the story. Linux is one of the big boys when it comes to games. There is no discrimination against it among most of the big gaming franchises.
Yeah, I mean the issue you've got though, and like I say, is in the mainstream consumer's mind, and you see this with Canonical a lot with their Ubuntu distro. They don't mention the word Linux. Now, whether that's intentional, I'm sure.
I I don't think there is a stereotype so strong anymore.
No, I don't know. I think there's any sort of stereotype. I don't think the mainstream consumer would know what Linux is. They've got no stereotype. There's no bad press about it in terms of what they
I
could conjure
think
up in
they
their
know.
mind.
You'd be surprised. My mother knows what it is. My God, and
It's
she's not a technically savvy person, but she heard the name before.
yeah,
And
but there's no adverse connotation to the word Linux in the mainstream consumer's mind, as far as I'm aware. I've certainly not come across it. Usually, the response to the word Linux is "What's that?" But certainly nothing negative about it. But I think the problem is market knowledge. Now, people know about PlayStation, they know about Microsoft, they know about Xbox, they know about the Wii U, and these things are the things that they'll spend their money on, because when you're parting with £300-400 for a dedicated console, you want something that's going to have a bit of staying power, and you have to be very unfortunate to buy into a console that's got a big name and end up losing out because the console flops, like Sega Saturn, I believe, was one.
well, Linux doesn't need to target. Okay, why do people know Xbox and stuff? One thing, it's at the store and it says on it Xbox or PlayStation. The other reason is they put it on TV and they spend a lot of money. People who buy those consoles, they get they get a single-purpose machine with very high cost, and in the case of Xbox One, if you wish, I can go again talking about surveillances with the previous show, but this is basically a surveillance device, and we also know that the GCHQ in the UK was thinking about using the Kinect for surveillance on people. Xbox Live is, as we know, not only being eavesdropped on, but also people who are doing in-game chat are under surveillance by moles essentially inside the games. And this is leaks from like, I don't know, November, maybe October last year. So this is not like a very appealing place to be if you wish to play games. You're under surveillance. You're only renting the device. It's all basically a very single purpose device that would refuse to do anything except playing the games, which are themselves encrypted so that I can only enable them for play if you've purchased the license, which of course can expire and they can delete things remotely. So here you have a situation where people are buying very unattractive devices because they go by names and brands and perceptions that, oh, if I have a PlayStation, all my friends are going to want to come over to my house and play the game. Whereas with Linux, it's targeting a technical crowd. So the Linux Foundation, which is a branding company running by a branding person, Jim Zemlin, he's a branding guy, if you look at his career, and the other people are PR people. Their goal is to try to promote Linux to developers and to big corporations that make server hardware and printing and all that sort of stuff. So it's a very different audience. So to say the word Linux, it should mean something to a developer, but not to like a person going into a store, because nothing's gonna say Linux or have a tux, mascot on it.
Well, sticking on the subject of gaming, very briefly, I wouldn't mind just making a quick mention of a piece of software, open source software called Stella. It's a Atari 2600 emulator, and I've recently given it a little bit of treatment over on my little site. So if I may, I will go into a little bit more detail in that. Stella 3.9.3 came out roughly the end of January, and basically it does what it says in the tin. It's an Atari 2600 emulator. Now, for those of you listening that aren't as old as myself, it was a console from around the early 80s. Plugged into your television, and it produced some pretty basic games. I think its cartridges had a 1K capacitor, certainly very, very small capacity, and it had about a few hundred titles that came out for the machine over its life, and it was horrendously popular because at the time, for most people, it was the first ever console or gaming device that they had in their home. So things like Bat and Ball and sort of Arkanoid clone and Frogger and stuff was quite an amazing thing. So Stella seeks to emulate all of that on your Linux machine. Obviously, it has a Linux binary. You probably find it in most of the repos of most distributions, although probably not latest version, but certainly one close. And this package has been mature for quite a while now. The bugs that have been ironed out really. Now it's just fine tuning. It's been complete and very solid for many, many years. I remember Stella appeared in the Puppy Arcade distribution I reviewed many years ago. And even then it was mature and fully working. So great little package, gives you access to the whole catalogue of Atari 2600 games, which funnily enough I think equates to about 4 megabytes, or certainly no more than 5 in size, which gives you an example of how compact the games were in those days and how small they were. Great bit of fun for all of about 5 or 10 minutes, probably a minute a game, because once you see the restrictions that the machine had in terms of graphics and sounds, I think after the novelty factor's worn off, you'll tire of them very quickly. So I wrote a little piece on that over on my OpenBytes blog. I'm sure there'll be a link in the show notes. And also got a lot of flack for attacking, well, not attacking, but making a few flippant remarks about a community which exists apparently of 2600 enthusiasts that still play these games. But if you want to have a look, it's a bit light-hearted, a bit of fun. It's over on OpenBytes. I'll stick the link in the show notes. And it's a very good little package, if only for about half an hour of your life. I would start to worry about anybody who spent a significant amount of time playing these games, because they are very basic, and when you get titles like Room of Doom, I think you can imagine how complex these things are. But so that was that. Just looking over some of the other things I covered. If I may, Roy, just if I can throw a few more things in. There's a great little Linux title customizable card game, and it's called Forgotten Myths. And did we mention this one last time, Roy?
I don't think